Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series here in Leipzig, Germany, as we round out our second group stage moving forward. And of course, that wonderful little commercial that we just got to see, of course, StarCraft 2 now free to play. If you haven't been playing enough, you can tell because that beard hasn't set in. I know I have not been getting my games, and I'm your host, Athenius, joined on the desk by Zombie Grub and Maynard. Maynard, you've clearly been playing a lot of StarCraft 2.
I was about to say that I looked very similar to you, actually, before I played StarCraft, but ever since then, I was just like, thanks, Dad. I'm all back in it.
I don't know how to explain myself, but maybe I don't play enough.
It's coming, you know.
Oh, it's coming in?
Yeah.
Thanks.
5 o'clock shadow setting in.
Getting the stubble going, Zombie Grub. We've had a good couple of games for that. Last series was pretty great. Getting to see Showtime show how to hold the Zerg aggression.
Yeah, he held it really, really well. I mean, this guy like always seems to put on a clinic for it.
You know, sometimes you say that players made it look easy, but that did not look easy. They looked really, really hard, but he made it work. Like, he was constantly 50, 60 supply down, but that Prism Micro, the Prism, the Oracle MVP, picking up those Ravagers. A lot of moving cogs in that story. Showtime just making it all work together somehow.
Really showing that the tenacity and what makes him a championship caliber player, which we didn't get to see enough of last year. Our next series is, I think, something that we could probably agree is a bit of an underdog matchup. It's going to be
just a bit.
SortOf versus Arctur. Arctur, not a player that we hear a whole lot about.
No, it's his first time on the WCS stage, so welcome, but unfortunately it is a bit of a baptism of fire.
Yeah.
This is SortOf that he's up against. He's recently returned from Korea. He qualified for GSL Code S. He's a monster. He's one of the best Zergs in Europe, of a region of where some of the best Zergs in the whole world are from.
You're burying the poor guy, Maynard.
I am kind of making a coffin that's Arctur size right now in my brain. But, I mean, let's be real. It is a very, very heavily favored SortOf series.
Yeah.
But I've been surprised before. There have been miracle stories in StarCraft 2, and to me, Arctur winning the series is one of those.
Is Mech good enough now for an upset here, Zombie Grub?
I mean, Mech is pretty good, but I'm not sure it's that good for an upset. Sort of, as I mentioned before the break, if there's one matchup he should be pretty confident about, even if he was having an off day or an off season, would hopefully be versus Terran, where he faced the best in Korea.
All right, it's going to be a difficult match for sure. When we look at ZvT, what does he have to do to upset? What do Terrans do to upset Zergs? Is he going to try to break out some sort of cheese?
Yeah, something weird, something that SortOf's not expecting, because a lot of the Terrans that he plays in Korea would be very regular Terrans, I guess, quite regular.
There's a lot you can do in the matchup, but it's like, how do you beat SortOf?
I would actually say ZvT might be a tricky one to even say, like, you know, I was trying to think of like even a joke response, right? Like, well, you just 2-racks him all the time and that works, right? But it really doesn't. It doesn't anymore. So I'm not sure, unless his mech is really pristine and maybe SortOf underestimates him and keeps throwing like roaches against him, or Hydra, and then he's able to pick up the Vipers. Maybe then that's something, right? But it's gonna be hard. That's
scary. The analysis here, we don't have a whole lot of good things to say. I think most people agree, like, the way that Zerg versus Terran works right now, whether you're on the mech side of things or not, is it's usually the better player wins, and that makes things very scary, as we do have Anna on the stage ready to introduce our players. Quite an underdog matchup we have here, Anna.
Well, yes, Nate, that is a tough underdog story.
Nope.
Maybe,
We certainly do have a crazy matchup here. Thanks, Nate.
No problem. We got you.
Nailed it.
You know, this is going to be great because, yes, it is a heavily favored matchup for SortOf, but nobody loves an upset more than we in StarCraft. So SortOf just coming back from Korea. He has qualified for GSL Code S. I mean, this is a significant pedigree. We have Arctur coming up here. He has beaten Niden in his group. He's looking for that upset, and he's here to play for his life. So now, let's get this match started. Let's welcome SortOf and Arctur!
A difficult series ahead, of course. This one is going to be the group decider, I believe, for second place here. So big potential for the upset from Arctur. I think a lot of people in the chat, you know, if there's anything that we can say, is that there's quite a few memes around Rickard Mechanics, Bergman, SortOf one of the more solid Zerg players. You guys talked about his performance going over to Korea, playing in GSL. It's right here. He's been doing very well. He had a top 16 finish last year. He hasn't been the championship caliber player, but this should be a sweep for him.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a championship title that we're looking at right here. This is Group Stage 2, and SortOf is consistently, doing quite well at that point. In Korea, it's not really the fact that his GSL group had scary Terrans in it, where he was showing us his ZvT prowess. It's more the fact that he's just practicing against them every day.
Yeah,
he's hitting that ladder button, and he's hitting them every day. Those the innovations, your Marus, your TYs. I mean, if that's a good place for ZvT practice, I don't know where else is.
Pretty good people to practice against, right, Zombie Grub?
Yeah, pretty much the best Terrans you're going to face of different types of play as well. I mean, you got Gumia going for a lot of mech, and then you have TY going for like really turtle mech. I mean, you get like they do everything, So SortOf should be pretty well prepared. They even are doing like ghost builds apparently. So if that was maybe on his Arctur's mind, I don't know if that's going to work either.
Yeah, makes me curious if he is going to try to bust out something a little bit on the weird side, or if that can even work.
I mean, I'm sure that Arctur, considering he is a high-level European Terran player, he would have hit a lot of those high-level Zergs, and I'm sure he's beaten SortOf in a couple games on ladder. I'm sure it's happened. But will he win the series? That's the big question. He's not really, a stage veteran, who I would definitely say that SortOf is.
He comes in as a player that, you could say, he's like, of course he's good, he plays at the top level, but he's not the player that puts out the results. He's not the player that comes into this tournament that you look at and say he's going to make it out of here. And for SortOf, this is one of those matchups where we look at it and we're like, yeah, this is a stepping stone for his way to the top 32, where he will have to prove himself against a better opponent, whether that Korean practice really paid off.
It's not even just the Korean practice on the ladder, it's also the people that he gets to hang out with and talk about StarCraft every day, some of whom came with him to this event. And then he has, he is European, so he goes back to European event and he's like, this Arctur guy, has he gotten really good in the past 6 months? And someone's like, yes, sort of, we're good friends. Yes, he has. He does X, Y, and Z. So there's a lot of things that go like even behind the play that I think is in favor of SortOf.
All right, well, it's time to find out if Arctur has what it takes to upset SortOf. We're going to go to the casters now for this Terran versus Zerg.
Thank you very much, Nathanius, as I am joined by Johan Lutot Merlo, the reigning champion of the Casters Esports Earnings Invitational, still on top of the mountaintop as we're getting ready for this ZvT. I think it's safe to say that I agree with the people on the desk that Rickard Mechanics Bergman is a pretty big favorite here.
He is, but not too long ago, just a week ago actually, Arctur took out SortOf in a best-of-1 in the beautiful Worldy Team League that we all love. So apparently it can be done. This was only one of the 2 times that they've met in the past. And the way I see it, he has nothing to lose. Not too many people expect him to do very well here anyway.
That is true, but we're getting ready for it. SortOf, of course, fresh out of Korea, had that appearance in the GSL. It didn't go his way, but he still had a decent showing. He won that first map, and the hype was real on Twitter. Everybody was going crazy. SortOf is a player that's been around for a very long time. He had his ups and downs in the history of StarCraft 2. I think still his best performance up to today was in 2012, where he reached top 4 of
Stockholm.
A good run in Stockholm as well, but he made top 4 at NASL Season 4 back then in Long Beach. He was the highest placed non-Korean back then. He also had a good run at Valencia in 2016, where he made top 4 indeed as well. So he is no stranger to the big stage. Spawning on the left top side of Catalyst, it is SortOf.
His opponent in the reds, playing Terran all the way from Russia, it is Arctur.
It is cool to see a Rush.
You didn't see him.
Nice camo, eh? A nice camo. Is he actually on stage or not, though? Could have been happy, you never know. I was about to say that it's really cool to see a Russian Terran on a big stage again. It's been a long time. Of course, in the old days, we always had Happy, the former Warcraft 3 pro. He was I would say a resident in the top 8, top 16. He was always there. Every now and then a good run by him as well. Arctur definitely new to this stage. This group was stopped by Petit Drogo, going strong. Also reigning champion, of course, of Leipzig here. So perhaps no surprise there, but I'm kind of impressed that Drogo was able to top SortOf as well in that winners match.
Yeah, definitely showing once again his PVZ is definitely up there. Historically, actually, Russian players, they've had a lot of good players, but I remember mostly Zergs and, Protosses with guys like Slivko, And then you had Strange, Titan, and all these guys. So yeah, as you say, it's pretty good that we got a Terran here.
Yeah, we had Rail as well in this tournament, but Rail actually eliminated in the second group stage. He lost against Lillecannon in the lower bracket match of his group, which I was a tiny bit surprised by. Obviously, a great performance by that Danish Terran. So it's safe to say that all Russian hopes are already on the shoulders of Arctur. But he's got a tall mountain to climb, as SortOf is nothing to scoff at. SortOf also opening up very safe here. He went pool before hatch. Doesn't want to take any risk here, Todd. Doesn't want to get cheesed early on.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to drone scout anyway, so the best way to make sure that your overlords don't see something too late is just to open like that, be very safe early on. Link's actually sneaking across the map. It's just the 2 right now, but there is already a Marine now, so shouldn't be a big issue.
That's
Maybe
actually
SortOf
quite
can
nice.
Try and make something happen.
I like this though. There's one Marine before the reactor. Not everybody does it, but this Zerg opening is quite popular. And if you don't have this Marine, these 2 Zerglings are super annoying. Right now they're kind of annoying, but with a little bit of micro, Arctur should be fine. And you can't afford to lose the Marine though. And he does end up losing the Marine. And that really stings, because the main reason you lose this Marine, or make this Marine, rather, is to deal with these 2 Zerglings. Now the Reaper has to go all the way back home, and look at the amount of time that his orbital command has been delayed.
Yeah, he should have been fine, but he's not really now. Having lost that, he lost a bunch of time during which the command center wasn't building. The Reaper had to go all the way back, which means that for now, that drone going to the 3rd base and starting it will not be denied. And Nematized Carapace actually for SortOf, he wants to make sure he can fly an overload in there and scout exactly what Arctur is going for, which usually the main thing you want to confirm is that there is no armory in the back of the main middle line, because if it's there and it's Hellbats, you need to get way more units than otherwise.
Yep, the scout so far was good by SortOf, but of course having the follow-up scout with that Overlord as well. The Reaper even getting picked off in the middle of the map by these 2 Zerglings. It just kind of feels, Todd, that so far all these minor things that could have gone wrong for Arctur have actually gone wrong.
Yeah. If it keeps going like this, you know, it's going to start adding up really, really soon. So it's going to have to be the one to try and make something happen here across the map. Already on 2 Hellions, he's got 2 more on the way, and then 2 more in that factory. I wonder when he stops actually making these guys. Again, he didn't go for an armory, so we're not going to be seeing Hellbats, and he's getting a Viking instead of rushing for something like a Banshee.
Yeah, I think there's still a chance we might see some Banshees, but maybe he's disencouraged because of that Overlord that flew into the main base. That one Polt Viking, as we used to call it back in the day, is going to be able to take care maybe of at least 1 Overlord, but it's going to be hard to get a lot more than just this single Overlord, since Overlord speed is already out, and it's going to be a Liberator instead. Makes you wonder, Todd, what was that tech lab for?
Yeah, I thought for the longest time he was going to go for like some sort of Banshee follow-up, like you mentioned, it was possible, but not sure.
That's actually a pretty big Hellion run by here. Can he get close to the drones though? That's the big question right now. So far the Russian Terran has done a decent job in taking care of a couple of links, but you want more than just a few links. You want to get to those juicy drones, and this is actually going quite alright as these Hellions are still alive, but can he get a few more? He needs to get at least 5-6 drones to make this somewhat worth it, and he's gonna get 6. Does end up losing 5 Hellions in the process, 6 even in total. Got 16 Zerglings as well. Not the worst run by ever, but also not the jackpot.
What do we see SortOf at now, though? Is it just the basic Hydralisk Den that we would see a lot of the time? Because he kind of rushed for that lair. He hasn't made anything in terms of Roach Warren, but he does have the Baneling Nest. So Centrifugal Hooks is now going to start. Keep in mind, he's only on 2 gases. I expect him to start adding some more of these, despite losing some drones. Like, he replaced those very quick.
Yeah, what I do like though is that Arctur is sending his Liberator towards the main. He spotted that the majority of the queens were in the natural, so this Liberator is going to go uncontested for a little bit. Should be able to get 2 drones. Yes, he does get 2 drones, and he's going to unsiege it immediately. This is actually all quite solid, what the Russian Terran is showing us, but he is going to follow it up with Bio though, Todd, and we all know that Bio in this day and age, it's not as scary and powerful as it used to be.
Yeah, Zergs have gotten very good at, you know, buying time to get to Ultras, or even dealing with his armies, spreading creep better than ever, and getting good engagements, most of all against the siege of Terran. Arctur, definitely pretty impressed already, you know, from him as somebody that we're not as familiar with. as SortOf is definitely doing some things right already in this game, despite trailing in walkers right now with 63 to 50.
Yep, I do feel like he needs one more follow-up to find an opening and do some economic damage. Otherwise, SortOf's army is just going to explode soon. I love that landed Viking in the right top side. They're actually going to pick off that drone and deny the fourth base for now. SortOf does have an annoying Zergling blocking that orbital command from landing. So SortOf is actually getting melee upgrades though, despite the fact that we did see the Hydralisk then go down. So we are going to see some good old Hydra Link Bane that's becoming very popular in this matchup as well. But he's going to go for the melee upgrades instead.
Yeah, Muscular Augment's now on the way. Liberator will get sniped here. That drop on the right-hand side though.
Maybe?
Is there enough Lings and Banes to really hold against this?
If they were in position, the answer is yes, but I'm not sure if they are going to be in position. SortOf did spot it right now though with one Zergling.
Even the Viking landing. That's the Heart of the Storm cinematic.
I mean, Arctur is going to get another cancel here on this fort. He's even going to be able to pick up a couple of these Banes as well. He's going to scan forward, get a few creep tumors, doesn't want to overstep his boundaries, didn't know exactly how far those Banes were when it comes to completing.
I love this. 1-1 finishes way earlier for Arctur. He immediately starts +2 attack, so he wants to stay ahead on the upgrades. Keep in mind, like, if he's able to keep on trading effectively and he stays, you know, around the same level in supply and then does a 2-2 push, it would be so hard for SortOf to hold on against superior upgrades and as big as an army. And the wall is complete at the third base. Lynx tried to run in, but okay, no, it's not actually.
It's almost complete as that one SCV is going to fall, but the Lynx do not want to commit. So Arctur still has all those units on the right top side. Now the fourth hatchery is going to be taken in the middle of the map. But it's safe to say, Todd, if you play this style of SortOf, you want to get those 4 bases up and running a little bit quicker than he's done so far. Now, stepping onto creep is risky. Let's see how this plays out. You want to be very careful, but most of SortOf's units are actually running towards that wall up that we saw on the left bottom side, which also means that his third base is quite exposed.
Yeah, it looks like SortOf wants to try and counter across the map with a lot of Hydras and Banes. He's going to count on the reinforcements back at home to hold on that third base.
It's still not a wall off.
Oh my god.
Still not a wall off. These Banes are just going to run by. Arctur is going to lose a lot of SCVs here, but at the same time, can SortOf crush his army on the right top side. A couple of Banelings do get close to these Marines, and the majority of Marines have been picked off. And SortOf, the counter-attack seemed questionable at first, but it worked out in a big way.
Yeah, and now across the map, Arctur is going to have to clean those up here, those units. He saved a lot of SCVs. Yeah, I really thought like the Banelings were going to commit to these guys, but I think maybe SortOf didn't realize all the Banelings were kind of stuck down there. Now he's going to go on the chase, get a bunch of Hydralisks for his effort. And Hive starts super fast here, by the way, from SortOf, as he starts 2-2 as well. Whereas for Arctur, he's actually pretty close to finishing that 2-2 here. But he lost a lot of army here.
Yeah, he lost a lot of supply depots as well, so he was supply blocked for quite some time. I think there is still a little bit of hope for the Russian Terran, but he needs to apply some pressure on the fourth base. If he would have split his Marines better on the right top side, and those 2 Banelings wouldn't have splashed over 7 or 8 Marines, there's a good chance that he would have traded better there, maybe even keep a couple of his siege tanks alive. Because now you look at his army of SortOf and you're like, nope, actually no, just no. Let's not fight on creep, or perhaps not even fight off creep, as SortOf is not giving up here.
Yeah, I love how that CC casually lands here. It's like, nope, not gonna happen for you. You better get the hell out of here and fly like the rest of the units. It's actually, SortOf is gonna go for the snipe there. He's trying to force a ban engagement out of Arctur, who feels like he has to defend that one command center.
Does save the command center, so that's kind of a big deal. If he would have lost that, he would have really started to run out of steam. Now he might actually be able to get a couple of Hydras, as most of the Banelings are gone. I love that little wall of changelings there. And wow, these Marines actually didn't trade all that good against these Hydras without attack upgrades. Lings on top of this tank as well. You can truly see the mechanics of Mr. Bergman kicking in. And Arctur, I feel, is falling apart a tiny bit.
Yeah, despite being ahead on upgrades here, a lot of those exchanges didn't go his way. Now he's left without an army, really. He's got 35 army supply, but it's not there. And SortOf is going to jump on the opportunity here to deal some economic damage, whereas on the other side, he's being left untouched completely.
In your natural, the Lings and Hydras are dancing. Even though this is not the natural, it's the third base. But I think it's safe to say we're looking at the closing moments here of the first game on Catalyst. As SortOf, once again, that counterattack felt a little bit risky, but in the end it played out well for him as he did so much damage. The wall-up wasn't complete. That orbital should really go down any moment now. These Hydras are just not focusing it, but the reinforcing Hydras will take care of it. And one additional Liberator got picked up. The tanks are getting picked off. That fourth base is going to fall as well, and SortOf takes the 1-0 lead.
Couple interesting plays here out of Arctur. Tried to make some things happen his way. He tried to play straight up, which I like, you know, like If you feel like you have a chance in a straight-up game, you shouldn't try to cheese or do something crazy, and he tried that, but sort of just too little, too good. He lets the mechanics speak, and when they speak, they speak very loud when he's playing.
Definitely a crucial moment there, right? Where SortOf decided to just counter-attack. And you look at that push of Arctur when he denied that fourth base again in the right top side. You're like, okay, this is promising. And then he also didn't really waste any time. The moment he realized the units were out of position, went for that mineral line. It's just the few banes of SortOf did too much damage. Otherwise, if he would have been able to split those Marines, protect them a little bit, put them behind the tanks, if he can keep that army alive on the right top side and complete the wall off in the left bottom side, that was obviously a mistake as well. Perhaps we could have been looking at a different game.
The problem is that tanks were across the map, so as much as it makes his push stronger, it's also tanks that he's missing at home or in his big army later on. Again, he was quite a bit ahead on upgrades, but I mean, it's easy for us to say as observers, we see everything. We can look at the supply as much as we want.
Arctur had a decent start there as he was able to deny that fourth base over and over again. Did a little bit of economic damage as well, but in the end, a few mistakes that obviously they were even unforced errors, I felt, in a way. You know, if he would just complete that supply depot wall, then SortOf is forced to either waste some time or waste his bailings on that wall. And that perhaps makes it a little bit easier for the Russian Terran to stabilize and defend at home. As we are getting ready to hop into game number 2, and Todd is going to be on one of our new maps.
Biogenesis here, a very short rush distance on that map. Could be seeing some crazy builds here, you know. I've heard some Zerg chatter here and there that you don't even need a second base on this map sometimes. I actually think the Roach Ravager rush that a lot of Zergs have done on the, would be maybe the best on this map if you were to ever do it. But then again, Terrans can kind of expect it, maybe scout a little bit extra for it.
This is one of the traditional rush maps. In general, every map has one map that's quite a bit smaller than all the other maps, and you're going to see very different games on it as well. Think back of maps like Paladino Terminal, and in the previous map, Battle of the Boardwalk was kind of supposed to be the rush map.
I would like to think of this map as a new generation Steps of War, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it's an upgraded Steps of War, but it's definitely not very big. If this game drags on, I think it's safe to say it's pretty damn good for Terran. There's a lot of high ground, there's a lot of good spots for tanks, but getting there is perhaps going to be a completely different story. It's a good chance we see some wonky openings over here on this map.
Yeah. And SortOf, we see here his best WCS result in 2017 was a top 16. It wouldn't be a big surprise if you made top 8 or even top 4, you know, like obviously it'd be an upset, right?
Yeah, top 4 I'd be very impressed. I think top 8, that would be like, ah, good run, you know, but we know he's capable of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Top 16 is almost like a regular performance, perhaps. For
it feels like he has the potential, especially seeing as how, you know, he seems extremely motivated, consistently goes to South Korea to train with the best.
Yeah, I can see it happen. I mean, I'll never forget the run that he had in 2016 in Valencia, where he made it all the way to the semifinals. Back then, Marine Lord and Nurcho were the one in the end to make it to the final. It was a great final as well back then. I really enjoyed it. That was one of the most exciting 4-0s that I've ever seen. I know that sounds bad. If not
the most.
No, I know it sounds bad, but I don't mean it like that. The games were epic. If you guys are ever bored and you want to watch some old school StarCraft, take a look at that Marine Lord Nurcho final of 2016. A couple of epic games, but we have loaded into a Biogenesis as we're getting ready. And we're looking at the main base of the Swedish Zerg. He's up 1-0. It is SortOf.
His opponent playing Terran in the red. It is Arctur.
Still don't see him. Some good old
memes, man.
That's good camo. So we see him walling off on the low ground.
Yeah.
Now, this is something we saw a lot in the previous season on maps like Ascension to Ire as well.
Isn't this kind of bad against the Ravager Rush?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of...
Then again, it's SortOf. Like, if there's a guy you don't really expect it out of, maybe it would be him. Can we show the distance that's one would have to cross the other side of the map? So basically, it's this. You're already in the middle of the map there at that WCS logo, and then you go up that ramp, and there it is. The second base of your opponent straight into his main base, and no ramp at the natural base, just, you know, that flat ground there.
To give you guys an idea of how quick it is for workers to make their way across the map, if you play PvZ and you drop a low ground pylon, Zerg can't even 15 hatch. 15 hatch, the probe still arrives too early. So that kind of shows it. We're going to see some good old Reaper play. This is also the map, I believe, with 3 entrances into the main base for Reapers. Maybe we can take a look on the edge. Obviously over there on the left side, near the ramp as well. And all the way on the right side, there's a little ledge as well. So, you know, plenty of space. We do have a very early Roach Warren, though, Todd. So SortOf is perhaps sort of expecting this. He's going to spot the 2 Rex here as well with his Overlord. I'm going to see the good old dance between Reapers, Roaches, and maybe a Ravager or 2.
Yeah, very aware here of the possibilities, SortOf. Just making sure he's covering all his bases. Now confirms the 2 barracks, pretty much knows that it's Reapers in production there. Might be able to confirm the 3rd one unless he plays it safe and stays up there. That would be big, right? Because then you want to make sure you don't get any extra drones early on. Just get a lot of units, make sure you're safe. But you mentioned those 3 entrances for the Reapers. It's going to give a lot of capability for Arctur to still be aggressive and try and deal some damage.
I mean, even the first Reaper shows up so fast, Todd. The Queen is not out yet, so these drones are taking a little bit of a beating. I believe a single drone went down so far. No, actually, SortOf saved all of his drones. Well done.
Yeah, was forced to make a couple buildings and then cancel them, but it's really from that moment where there's like, you know, 5 Reapers plus that it becomes so dangerous. Like Queens have very little mobility, and obviously, like, again, this comes so fast that SortOf, he could hardly have any creep as well between linking his 2 bases. So the mobility is just not there. It's very difficult for him to deal with this.
Still keeping all of his drones alive so far, though. I think the
Oh my
Queen
God,
from the
there's
main
nothing.
went to the natural, so that means that these drones are going to be quite exposed.
Wow.
2 drones go down. A couple of grenades could potentially land. Good surround, though, at least on one of these Reapers. 2nd Reaper gets surrounded, but losing 4 drones is still painful. 5 there with the grenade kill as well.
A critical mistake, though, from Arctur to go inside of the middle line here, getting surrounded and losing those Reapers. Now it's going to pack less of a punch when the next ones do join the fray, but he's getting an expansion. I guess he killed a bunch of walkers. He's on 24 against 20 right now, so he's definitely done something right. We see Ravagers now being morphed for SortOf to deal with this easier. They can shoot from pretty far and take out those Reapers pretty fast.
Yeah, it's a shame. Even though he did get quite a few drones, like you say, if you can keep 7, 8, or 9 Reapers alive, SortOf will know the moment that he leaves his base, he's going to lose an entire mineral line. So a little bit of a shame, but it wasn't for nothing. He still got some damage done, and he did expand quite quickly behind this. SortOf also scouted that immediately, though. There we do have that long distance shot of one of these Ravagers, picking off another Reaper. But still, you know, Terran being up 4 or 5 workers in this phase in the game. It's also good spawning positions, right? Because the tech lab and the reactor is going to be very protected if Terran spawns in the right bottom side. If Terran would spawn on the left top side,
yeah,
that means that these add-ons are going to be very exposed because they'll be on the other side of the wall.
I think because of that, it would be much harder to go for this kind of build. Maybe you would have to fly his 2 barracks after the initial opener and then rewall with depot, which obviously is not ideal either. But yeah, we do see Arctur going into a starport, getting an eBay.
SortOf is making a lot of units though, Todd. 10 additional links, and these are not safety links. These are the kind of links that you make if you want to start being a little bit aggressive. 8 more links on top of that. So SortOf is going to try to end this game quickly. Arctur need to figure this out as quickly as possible. SortOf is doing a good job though in hiding that information.
Yeah, he's zoning him out completely here. And I mean, Arctur, even if he sees it now, it's just too late. He might miss it. He's going to miss the units. He gets into the natural. I guess he's going to see the saturation and only now realize what's happening. Perhaps he could get some bunkers, but I don't think they even finish on time.
Well, it's going to be hard to get bunkers up against those Ravagers as well. Reaper's still being very... Actually, he has a bunker though, Todd. Maybe this is all right with those 2 reactors as well. He's going to be able to produce quite a few Marines. He does repair that depot a little bit too late, but as long as he keeps that bunker alive, I think Arctur stays alive in this game. You need to pull the SCVs from the bowels though. He's losing a lot of SCVs almost immediately. A couple of these Marines getting picked off as well. Can these Marines do the damage that he's looking for? I honestly think he lost too many SCVs, Todd. I think that SortOf has a few too many units here.
Yeah, and they're going to keep on streaming in there with more links and roaches rejoining the fight across the map. The wall has been breached, and Steampack is about to be cancelled. No, he's going to finish just on time, but I mean, he has no bio left anyway.
That tank just a few seconds too late as well. Can he keep the tank alive with a couple of these SCVs? As that one Ravager was indeed blocking the access, but even the medevac took a lot of damage. Got to be careful. One more cross the bow, and that's going to be the end, but I think it's safe to say it's over anyway. SortOf takes the 2-0 victory and will advance to group stage number 3.
The all-in mechanics superior in this one.
Not an all-in player, but on a map that small, made it SortOf is like, well, you kind of forced my hand here. You opened up with the Reapers. You want to play this kind of a game, I'll play that game
He was
with you.
pushed into a corner, Roddy.
His hand was forced. He flopped upset, and he didn't know what else to do. He had to go for it. SortOf, of course, no stranger to Group Stage 3 here at these WCS events. And good run by Arctur. He took out Nightent in the match before this one. I think that's a pretty impressive victory. One you can put on your resume, but Mr. Mechanics was a little too much to handle. I believe that Mechanics is on the stage ready with Anna. So Anna, take it away.
Thanks, guys. Mr. Mechanics, how do you like that nickname?
I don't think it fits too well. I think my mechanics are not, or quite far from the best. So, but it's just a meme, so it's okay, I guess.
Well, they seemed to serve you pretty well here. Tell us a little bit about your mechanics in this game, or if you didn't think your mechanics were so great, what made you come out on top?
I think it was just experience in this case. I feel like today my condition is quite poor, but overall I think my overall level is really good right now. I've been practicing really hard, and I feel really good about my game, but today I'm not on point quite so.
Well, what do you think you're going to need to do to get back on point? Because the casters mentioned they think you're going to finish pretty highly in this tournament.
Yeah, I think I can do really well. I just have to get past the next group stage and reload for tomorrow. So for now I'm just going to take a few minutes to recharge and try my hardest in the next group stage, and hopefully it works out.
Do you agree with them that you think you can finish highly here?
Yeah, for sure. But it all depends on bracket luck and stuff like that, my condition and stuff. But I think I have what it takes to go far.
Great. Well, we can't wait to watch you play more. Thank you. And guys, let's hear it one more time for SortOf as we go back to you at the desk.
Thank you very much, Anna. SortOf saying that he doesn't feel like he's quite up to speed, but taking a very decisive victory here over Arctur, who things were going kind of well, and then he didn't have the block off at that third base, and then his army got cleaned up outside the third of SortOf.
Yeah, there were a couple moments where it sort of looked a little shaky on specifically Catalyst. I think game 2 was pretty cut and dry. You know, he kind of beat back the 3-Rax Reaper and, you know, counterattacked and won. It was pretty solid there. But Catalyst, Arctur made him work for it, man. That could have gone either way. It was very, very rough. But then we saw the experience that SortOf spoke of when the game went a little bit longer. All of a sudden, the multitasking of Arctur having to do things on two sides at once. You can see that big Baneling hit to his Marine army.
Yeah.
Stuff like that generally doesn't happen if your multitasking is a lot better. But yeah, he had a very solid early game on Catalyst for sure.
Yeah, it was tough. Zombie, you have anything that stands out to you from this series?
No, I think it really was experience, though. Arctur has taken a map. Well, I assume more maybe on ladder from SortOf, but in a league he has. But yeah, experience really plays a lot, you know. That Arctur is starting to get there. Round 32 at Valencia, here today, back up on stage. Like, it's going to come, but not quite there. Not today.
All right, well, we continue to move forward in the group stages here of the World Championship Series in Leipzig, Germany, as I believe you're going to be able to take a look at some of the results from the groups to catch you guys up to speed on everything that has been going on. Of course, I believe that was a decider match. That means SortOf will be advancing to the next group stage, as he was saying. He's hoping he can make his way through based on that group luck. DNS and TLO have made it out of Group A. I don't think that's a big surprise.
I mean, Sol in that group had a lot of potential coming into that one as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Sol did. He's been pretty highly ranked on the ladder at the moment, but yeah, TLO, some household names going through there, and DNS has been really impressive lately.
Cham came out second place in that group as well after being taken down by Showtime, so he'll be up later. And we see Cyan topping his group.
Yeah.
With Optimus potentially in tow going up against Kalp in a rematch.
It'd be really cool to see Optimus go through. What about this one, ZG? Hero Marine and Haaston in their group there.
Yeah, they had a pretty interesting TVP. It was pretty fun, but I would say that's what I would expect. Cost, you know, old school favorite, but old school favorite. Hero Marine's been on top somewhat, you know, not actual tournaments, but on ladder for certain for a while.
Snoot and Bly make it out of their group. Muslim being eliminated from Group F. And Stefano clearing out his group with Zanster right behind him.
Yeah, everyone always talks about Stefano. I feel like every tournament he comes back, I'm like, no, he's like really good on ladder. Like, he has really good games. He really wants to do well. Let's see what he can do. And then he never really quite performs. But there's going to be that one time where Stefano comes back, like 2014 or 2012, actually. It's been so long, you guys. Form, and he just is like, I'm going to win something. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Well, the next series that we have as we progress forward in the tournament is going to be XY versus Lambo. So some Terran versus Zerg. coming your way. I think this matchup looking a little bit more competitive than the series that we just saw, so the things heating up here in Leipzig.
I'll be casting that one as well, and I love TVZ, so I'm very, very excited for that. It's a clash with, like, neither player would have ever faced each other. I'm pretty sure, I'll confirm that in a second. Like, I'm 99% sure that neither players ever faced each other because they are from different regions. XY would have been facing, you know, your Shigwas and that sort of thing in his region, but Lambo has been facing, you know, his Euthermals and his Hero Marines, so it's going to be a cool clash of styles, I think. Two regions colliding to see who's going to come out on top.
Yeah, very exciting times coming up. We've got XY versus Lambo. After this break, we'll be right back.